Hello and welcome to the Downsized Dish. This is our channel where we talk to people who are on GLP-1 medications and talk about their journey and their ups, their downs, tips, tricks they might have, and how that might apply to your journey out there. My name is Laraine Durham, and this is the Downsize. This is our channel where we talk about all things GLP-1 related. So GLP-1 medications are things like Mounjaro, Zepbound, Ozempic, Wegovy, semaglutide, and tirzepatide. And today I'm here with Pam. She has her own YouTube channel at Mounjaro Journey with Pam that you guys can check out. Welcome, Pam. Thanks for
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Thanks for coming on the show today. Tell us and everyone a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I just recently turned 55. Yay.
Ooh, yay.
And it's funny. There's been a lot of times recently. So I recently turned 55. I met what I think is my goal weight of somewhere around 155. I kind of went down to 153, and my weight always fluctuates. So we'll see how that goes. And I've lost a total of now 160 pounds. For a while there, I was 155. And
wow.
I was like, wow, a lot of fives. I should go buy a lottery ticket with fives. But
now, what was your starting weight?
Okay, so my starting weight at the end of December 2022 was 313 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, 313.
Wow.
And so and then here's a picture. So back in 2000, August 16, 2000, I had the open Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. And about 2 years after the surgery, my first grandson was born. And so that's my first grandson in the picture.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was probably about 155 about 155 there, somewhere around 155, 160. And I'm only 5'4". I was never 5'4.5", darn it. And I'm too scared to measure again because I don't want to be less than 5'4". But through my last, I would say 30 years, I earned a master's degree in school counseling. And so this was one of our give me a profile picture at the college. And we took this picture and then I cropped it to where you only saw the top parts, which a lot of us do. We only show a lot of those upper top parts. Yeah. And always telling your person, please make me look thinner.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as you see, and here was I was trying to remember which before I did on this one. I think this was in 2016. And I purposely did it before. And I think I was one of the diets I was trying at the time. I know what it was. I had a revision in 2010. And so this could have been the revision or one of my other, weight loss programs, because I have tried several.
Yeah. Go back.
I feel like I was probably at 313 around there too.
Okay. And the picture previous in the red, that was about 313?
Yeah, I stayed. I felt like, there were times where I'd go down to 290, but for the majority of the time, I was always 310 or 313.
Gotcha.
Prior to gastric bypass, my highest was 310. And so in this picture on the left, I was probably around the 290 to 95 area. Because I remember thinking, oh, I feel good. I've lost a little bit of weight. And then the picture on the right is getting to 153.
Wow.
So
I mean,
that's
amazing.
It's crazy, huh? And I feel like I'm starting to get all those comments oh, you're losing too much weight. You need to stop. And I think because I carry my weight in my lower half, my legs. Yeah. And so I always look a lot thinner. I always melt from the top down, look thinner on the top.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see it. So you started 313, had gastric bypass, and then did the weight came back after gastric bypass?
So I would say I was pretty successful for 5 years. And, I was doing all the things that are recommended, following the proper diet, exercising, drinking my protein shakes and all that.
Yeah.
And then, I think probably that 5-year mark, I was trying to remember, I was either finishing up my master's degree or working, because I remember just coming home exhausted, starting dinner and then sitting on the recliner. And
Mhm.
that's pretty much where I stayed for the rest of the evening. I would eat dinner on the recliner, I'd watch TV, and then I would even like fall asleep on the recliner.
Oh,
And I
wow.
remember getting upset that my husband didn't wake me up to go to bed because
Yeah.
then I'd wake up and it'd be, take a while to go back to sleep. But I think those old habits came back, the sedentary lifestyle,
Mm.
not exercising, because I was exercising really good. And at that time, I wasn't. Like, I would just come home and was a couch potato.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then while I was sitting there watching TV, I would snack on my favorite things, which were Hershey Kisses.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, always grazing, because you can
Yep.
eat around your surgery. You can graze, you can eat lots of carbs, you
Right.
can't eat a lot of protein. Like, you get full on chicken and beef.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know. So our this mindset, chips, it's almost like air. You eat it and it just goes right through you.
Yeah, and
So
so the
those
weight crept back up?
the weight came back up a little bit over time. And there were times where, maybe I was about 273, 275, but for the majority of those years, they hung out closer to the 300s. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, okay. So talk to us about your latest Mounjaro Journey with Pam. So
Yeah.
how much
How
did
did
you
it
weigh when
start?
you start, and how much are you now?
Okay, so then at the end of December 2022, I was 313. I'm currently 153, the last time I weighed. And so what was my big kick like that got me started again? Actually, my second grandson, who's now 16, got diagnosed with leukemia.
Oh,
And so he was in a children's hospital from October 2022 for almost a whole year. It took us a long time to get him home, and then we'd always end up going back, and like, he's actually back in the hospital right now, but it's
mhm,
like different things that happen while you're in chemo.
yeah,
So he's in remission.
that's
And
good.
yeah, and it's been 2 years since his diagnosis. But yeah, while I was staying with him, we were trying to get him to walk down the hallway, and his doctor said, try to get him to walk. And I said, oh, guess what, he went for a walk. And the doctor said, oh, you should go for a walk too.
Excuse me, sir.
You should go for a walk too. And I went, he
How
wasn't my,
dare he?
I know. And I went back to the room and I said, Zayden, your doctor just told me I should be going for a walk. And I was just like crushed. And we started having like these kind of heart to heart discussions, because I was sleep there. They make these huge rooms, and the parent or adult family member gets to stay in a pull-out bed.
Oh,
And so we started talking about, like, he was concerned whether or not I would still be around. And he said he was already noticing that it was trouble for me to walk around Disneyland. And we go to
yeah.
Disneyland a lot, being it's just 2 to 3 hours away from us. And I was always in pain. And when we did go, especially after COVID, the trolleys weren't working, and we had to walk a long way. And so I was constantly having to stop and get my breath. And so, yeah, a lot of times I just chose not to go. I didn't even go with them to Disney World. They went to Disney World like a month before his diagnosis, and I didn't
Mm,
go.
mm,
And sorry, my computer light keeps going off. So, yeah, having those discussions, and so hearing his concern that, Grandma, I'm worried, are you going to be there for me and with me? And it just resonated. I don't know, it just made that feeling like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And
yeah.
so I started making a goal. I would walk for at least 10 minutes before I went down for breakfast. And they had a Starbucks in the hospital. It's a 3-story hospital, and it's a huge building. So I would walk for 10 minutes and then go down and get something to eat. And I would have boiled eggs, I would have bacon, because I was kind of in that mindset too, like sort of like an Atkins, like, oh, I'm going to do more carnivore, low carb.
Yeah.
And then I would have, my treat was the coffee, and I would have a mocha latte. And, yeah, and that was still kind of sugary. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and then for dinner, I would do another round of walking before eating dinner. And so I started off with walking inside the hospital, and then eventually started walking outside the hospital. And there are inclines on both sides of the hospital. So
Mhm.
for a while there, I would only walk halfway, and then I had to walk back uphill, and I'd stop halfway up the hill to get my
Mhm.
breath. And I mean, it since he was there for almost a year, over time, I just kept walking more and more, and I would do morning and then I would do the evening.
Wow.
And every holiday, since I'm a teacher, now I would take all of my breaks and stay with him. And yeah, so that's where it started. And so for 7 months, it was just the walking, and I ate more low carb, and I lost 45 pounds in those 7 months.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in July 2023, I went to the doctor, finally got the blood test done, and found out that my A1C was in the danger zone. And my doctor said, you have type 2 diabetes. And I was like, what? And it was 6.0, which I have learned that that's still considered pre-diabetes, but that's okay. I took it for what she was warning me for, because
Yeah.
my dad had it, my older brother had it,
Mm,
and my older sister has, and my brother and sister have siblings, but we share a lot of the same health issues.
yeah.
And so she said, do you want to start the medication? And so she put me on metformin for like
Mhm.
a week. And that's whenever my daughter, thank goodness, I had never heard of GLP-1s. And my daughter said, hey, mom, my coworkers are going to a synergy or a wellness clinic, and they're paying like $400 to $600 or something. And they're getting this shot. And she mentioned Mounjaro. And so I called the doctor's office and I said, hey, can I take Mounjaro? So they sent a message. She sent a prescription over to our Costco pharmacy right away, and I was taking it the next week.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that started at the beginning of August 2023. And I did the whole, like, she gave me the medication in case I got sick, see how your body was taking it for 4 weeks,
Mhm.
moved up to 5 milligrams, did that for 2 months, and then moved to 7.5 for 2 months. And then it was January when I went up to 10. And we both were I had started watching Found Countess of Shopping, and she was talking about how one of her biggest regrets was moving up, titrating up too fast.
Yeah.
So I told my doctor, it's like, maybe we should stay at 10. And she said, I agree. Let's keep you here. As long as it's successful, we'll keep you here. Well, thank goodness, like from January all the way till this month, like I've been consistent, even though my weight fluctuates up and down every week. I've been losing anywhere from 6 pounds to 10 pounds in a month
Wow.
consistently, even on 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm following you right, so you've lost 100 and 155 pounds in just 1 year?
It's 22 months. For
Oh,
the
2
total of
years.
160 pounds, it's
Okay.
been 22 months. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
yeah.
It's
So
almost 2 years.
Mounjaro, right. Mounjaro started in on August, and I've lost 115 pounds with Mounjaro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
It's
great
amazed
progress.
me. I'm still in shock. I'm like, I can't believe, out of all the difficult, diets and lifestyle changes that I made, this
Yeah.
has been the easiest. And my mindset was different this time. And I
Mhm.
even chose, I kept thinking, for this to stick this time, like this is going to be it. I need to allow myself to not just stay away from everything. So if I do want a cookie, I mean, I was really good in this first 7 months of not eating a lot of any bad stuff, except for those coffees.
Yeah.
There was, yeah, the coffees. And then eventually I changed my coffee to making it myself and adding protein
Ah,
shakes to it for the creamer. Yeah. So I
yeah.
eventually changed. But I was pretty strict in the beginning. And then now it's like maybe on the weekend, or, it's not as often. And I feel like now I have a control to not let myself binge eat and eat like the whole half a bag or a whole bag of cookies or
Yeah.
Hershey Kisses. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you had a very powerful why, a very
Right.
powerful reason in your grandson. So what does he say now?
You know what? And he's been my biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
So, okay, you know how your family goes along with you and they see you all the time, like lose weight,
Yeah.
gain weight, lose weight, and they see that you've had all these diets. I mean, even risking the fact, I remember going into gastric bypass, and everyone, we all worried like, oh, you could die from this, but then you could die if you don't have it done.
Right.
So the risk outweighed, or the benefits outweighed the risk.
Mhm.
And so I didn't put a lot of pressure on the rest of my family to, like, hey, be cheerleaders for me. But my grandson was my cheerleader. And he always told me, Grandma, I'm so proud of you. Every time I'd come in for a walk, I'm so proud of you. Like, yeah,
Aw.
look, you're walking. Like, look at that.
Aw.
You're eating good. He saw that once he got home and he saw I was air frying chicken, I would do high protein taco meat and make taco bowls out of it.
Mhm.
And then I would grill veggies to go along with it, and I would take it to work with me. but he's like, you're walking, like, I see it. And he was just always encouraging me. And, it's funny. I feel like he probably was the only person that ever said anything to me for the longest time. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, and I don't fault my family members for, not saying anything. My husband, like, I'm thankful that he never said anything negative to me when I gained weight. And now I see his encouragement from the things that we're able to do now. He's like, wow, last September we went to Joshua Tree and he said, I heard him talking to our daughter and saying, "Mom could keep up. Like, I could walk. I could keep up with him."
Yeah.
And I heard those things, like the physical activity that I can do is
Mhm.
different. And then when we go out to eat, he's like, I'm noticing that you're eating less now. Like, I'm like, I'm
Thank
not even
you.
order one taco. Yeah. And he's like, I'll tell him, no, I can't eat that. Like, I already feel full. And so he notices these things, but he's a very quiet person. He's not one to give you long discussions or tell you good or bad. He's a very silent type of person. But how he's feeling. It would just from you
Yeah.
just gonna have to get to know him.
Does
And
he have any weight issues or he doesn't have
no,
a problem?
he has genetically he has high blood pressure, so he
Okay.
takes medication for high blood pressure. He was always like 125 in high school. So when we met, he was already thinner than me. I was
Ah,
probably even in high school, I was probably a size 9, probably what I am right now, about a size 9. And once I started gaining weight before graduation, even he was always thinner than me. And so he always now for his whole adult life, he's been about 185, like 180
okay.
to 185. But he likes sweets, he likes soda. And so it's funny because, whenever we eat something, it's okay for him. It doesn't affect him the same way as it affects me because I'm insulin
Yeah.
resistant and, 5 pounds goes on like nothing. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
he doesn't understand the weight issues. But when he is exercising and cutting back on soda, he trims his belly more. So, like, he was trying to get a 6 pack, but it didn't work out. So he got frustrated.
Sorry.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, to that end, have you done any exercise, beyond walking during this process?
Yeah, so I have to say, boy, especially for people who they worry about not being able to do things, like not be able to walk. I have to tell you, walking is so underrated. So now, not just walking, I walk during all my lunches. Now that our daughter moved over to the beach area, Central California, we
Mhm.
walk along the beach, and I do a lot of videos where I'm out there on the bluff
Nice.
trail. Yeah. And so it wasn't until recently my daughter started, she's like the little mom voice. You should start doing some strength training. Because I started pushing open a door. Yeah. She's like, because we did have a talk, and she said to me, imagine what it was like for us watching you die. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
I didn't think that they even thought about that. In the back of your
Mhm.
mind, you think about your life being short, but I guess there were some signs that she saw, especially going into the diabetic realm. And
Yeah.
she's in the medical field and psychology field combined. So she sees a lot of things. So that was kind of interesting to see that. And so she does these little tidbits like, Mom, you should do some strength training. So I said, well, I need some weights. So at last Christmas, she bought me not only a walking pad, but a set of hand weights. She was taking weights to my grandson's hospital room, and so we were doing weights in there and kettlebells. And then during quarantine, I had already bought myself an elliptical machine and a recumbent bike. Sorry, I'm like trying to think. Recumbent bike, which the recumbent bike wasn't my friend to my knee, and I have arthritis in my knees, which I'm not feeling anymore, which is
Oh,
really
good.
cool. Yeah. So other than walking, I would say weights. So I'm following another YouTuber called Fabulous 50s, and she has some amazing hand weights and stretchy bands, that type of thing. So I'm doing more of that. I haven't gone into the gym. I feel like I'm just trying to I don't want to take the time to get dressed and go drive to the gym. I feel like for me, if I could just do it at home, if I can work out in my pajamas or
Mhm.
during my lunch breaks or come home, I'm comfortable now. Just like I'll go walking in my jeans. It doesn't bother me to walk in my jeans now if
Yeah.
that's what I need to do. but I'm trying to think. Oh, I bought a vibration plate because
Oh,
my doctor recently told me that I'd probably be a lot thinner, or she didn't say a lot thinner. She said you'd probably have met your goal weight, but it looks like you have lymphedema in your legs and some lymphedema. And
oh,
yeah, and then so I thought, well, yes, because I do remember like probably 10 years ago, I had a varicose vein removed, and the vascular doctor said my vein has a valve that doesn't close all the way. So
oh.
blood goes both directions. And so that
Mhm.
makes your legs swell. And because if you look at from the knees down, I feel like I still have cankles and I still have thicker calves. So I can't wear regular boots. I'm still wearing extra wide calves. And so I'm seeing a doctor again for that. And I bought a vibration plate, which I heard is going to help. And also, I'm going to buy some of those compression hoses, which I hate.
My mom wears compression stockings. She had
Hmm.
that same issue. I think it came from something
My
else,
mom did
but
too. Hmm.
yeah, and that vibration plate, just the shaking of it, is that supposed to help you
Apparently,
flush
yeah,
out
it's supposed to like, what is that called? It's draining what is it? Lymph
lymph
nodes?
nodes or
The lymph
the
system? Lymphatic system.
lymphatic
Yes.
drainage. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. That's really interesting. And talk to me a little bit about, for people who don't know, the lymphedema.
Yeah. So, okay. So lymphedema is more about the lymph system and not like being, what do they call that? I was like, is that my phone?
I think it's
um,
yours.
I thought I put myself on, no, it's on mute.
Oh,
Weird. So,
I'm on
oh,
mute.
maybe it's the desktop computer, my daughter's computer.
Maybe.
Weird. So, lymphedema, your lymphatic system isn't draining, but your vascular system is, they call it an inconsistency or insufficient. Vascular system is insufficient. That's hard to say.
Yeah.
And then lymphedema is when you get these painful fatty lump, or they feel like rice. So if you feel along the bottoms of your arms and
Uh-huh.
in your legs, you'll feel these little lumps, and it feels kind of like rice granules. So
Uh-huh.
like if your dog runs across your legs and you're like, ouch, that really hurts, that's a sign of lymphedema or lymphedema. And the swelling, the ankles that swell, after you're standing too long, those are all signs of, it's like painful fat encapsulated in a like harder shell kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of new. Not everybody knows about it. And apparently, if I want to go to a specialist, I have to come to Los Angeles, which is like 2 hours away. So we're gonna work with the vascular doctor in my town.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let us know
Yeah,
about that, because I have seen people, I guess maybe other people on different GLP-1 pages that also have struggled with that. So I just wonder what can be done to help
yeah.
flush that
I've
out.
been hearing more and more about it too. And I don't know if it comes along with, me and my sister both had polycystic ovarian syndrome, the
Mhm.
PCOS, which
Yeah.
a lot of people with problems with the heavier obesity, chronic obesity, closer to the 300, from 250 to 300s, usually have some sort of polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Mhm.
And I would say I was a teen mom, and we always talk about, it's probably been good that I did have my daughter young. We only had one. We were young. We were still in high school, but
Seems like it turned out okay.
and we still went to college. And then, yeah, so it was a struggle. But I think if it weren't for that, my PCOS didn't come into place until about 2 years after having her. And
Huh.
that's when I really started noticing like hormonal issues and stuff. So,
Yeah.
like, some of the signs are like battling chin hairs or different scraggly hairs here and there,
Yeah.
are one of the symptoms that you notice. And sometimes it's like a lump on the humpback, the lump on the back upper, that can sometimes be a sign. I'm like, now it's a bone. It's like a bone protruding out.
Do I have it? Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why that bone is so big now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I often wonder if I had PCOS at some point, but I was
Yeah,
never diagnosed. But
I know.
that's
Yeah.
very interesting, because I had all the
Yeah, having to do laser
right.
hair removal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you had, I don't know if they, if there was anything to do with, I know some people have harder periods or like trouble with their periods, but trouble in getting pregnant is a sign too.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
had no trouble. No trouble with that. And I guess you didn't either.
Right, no, but for the one, but
Yeah.
I never got pregnant after that. And
Oh,
yeah,
huh.
I mean, I pretty much always had was on some type of control, but
Yeah.
yes, I mean, there was a scare, and I think that's whenever 2 years later, that's when I found out that I had it, and my sister was never able to get pregnant, so and
Really?
she yeah, yeah. Oh, actually, a couple people in our family, so,
Hmm.
yeah, it's interesting how that works, but it was a blessing and a in disguise that we had her so early, and
Yeah.
now a blessing that we have 3 grandsons,
Aw.
that we get to enjoy and still be young, so,
Well,
yeah.
very good. That sounds great. Did obesity run in your family along with the other things?
So I always thought it did, but then I kind of started looking around. It's kind of like just here and there.
Okay.
So although my mom was always thin until I would say in her 30s, she had a little bit of a time where she struggled with weight. And I
Mhm.
remember like she was doing the Dexatrim. And so when I was, and there's a lot of things that you say that me and my mom went through too. Like,
Yeah.
although my mom, I feel like her struggle, she would wear like about a size 7 most of the time, but then when her weight came on in her 30s, it was more like because of stress and things, and she
Mhm.
would just, eat her way, so she was more susceptible to gaining weight. We would count our calories. We would go to Weight Watchers. We gained weight going Weight Watchers. We so I remember my 7th grade, I wanted to lose weight because I was trying out to be a cheerleader, and that summer before, I asked her to help me, and so I remember that's when I learned how to count calories, and we would count out the strawberries. Okay, you can have 5 strawberries.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
All those details, yeah. But my mom was always positive. She was never somebody to nag me about my weight. So, my mom's no longer here. She passed away in 2013.
Mm.
She was kind of young, 63. She
Mm.
had asthma and a lot of lung issues from an
Mm.
ammonia blast when she was 5 years old. So she
Hmm.
had a lot of things that damaged her lungs that caused, what do you call it, COPD. And she
Yeah.
wasn't a smoker, but her parents were smokers,
Oh,
so that affected too.
yeah.
But yeah, so my mom was always positive, and I think now, like, I hear other people's stories, and I'm just so blessed and thankful that my mom was encouraging, and I know, like, her and my dad are so happy. They're both, gone, and I just know that they're looking down and they're
Aw.
happy for me because I know that they would I remember my mom was worried, but she wouldn't tell me bad things or negative things. So, yeah, so I know they're excited.
Yeah. Well, that's great to think about. Yeah. Did your sister ever have a problem? You mentioned your
Okay,
sister.
so my sister, we have the same dad. She's a little bit shorter than me. She's 5'1", which my mom was 5'1" also, and she struggled with weight. She never got above like 245, but for
Mhm.
her being shorter, the
Oh,
245 she felt it. Yeah, so
yeah.
that was like her max. And she actually went on Mounjaro before me.
Oh.
And yeah, and I don't even think I knew about it until we started talking about it. It was it's weird. Like, it's such a mystery. You're like, oh, what do you know about this? And so she was losing weight first. And so she was also my cheerleader. She was always encouraging because here I was, somebody, I had to lose 100 pounds even to just catch up to her.
Yeah.
And now I think I'm a little bit less than her.
Oh.
And but
Yay.
I know, right? I'm like, I'm just, it's funny. Whenever I got lower than my husband, I said, "Yay, I beat you." And he goes, "I didn't know it was a contest."
Well,
I said,
only
in
in
my
my
mind,
mind.
yeah, only in
Yeah.
my mind.
I'm only competing with myself, but
Yes,
you were
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of my sister for taking that rope too, because the reason why she got on the medication is her A1C got above 6.0, and so that was what brought helped her diabetes. And for her though, her insurance, she started getting a little bit of dizzy spells, and we didn't know at the time, like, oh, you should add in potassium, magnesium. So there's nobody there to tell you what to do. So instead, they took her off medication, and then she started thinking about food all the time. She said, I am so hungry. So
Yeah.
she started gaining weight, and then her insurance wouldn't approve her again because she had already lost like maybe 40 pounds whenever this happened. Yeah. And it was a struggle. I kept telling her, hey sis, tell the doctor you have PCOS. Tell him you have sleep apnea, because she had a CPAP machine at night.
Yeah.
Eventually she got approved again and had to start again
Okay.
from the loading dose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's losing weight again. She's actually right there next to me. Like we teeter around Like last week she was 163, and I think she's probably in the 150s. She's real close.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great to have like a buddy, like, a
Yeah,
sister who can follow be on the same journey as you.
exactly.
So, I guess, have you lost all the weight you wanna lose at this point?
That's always the hard part to, because I'm like watching the interview that you had last week, and everybody was like in their 140s or so, and I thought, man, what would it be like to be in the 140s? So I'm not going to push it. If I naturally go down more, then I'll be excited. Maybe I'll go down with the control of the lymphedema. I do want to get skin removal surgery. I think my first thing is I do want to do something with the eyelids because I have the hooded eyes, and this side has always drooped more than this side. So I do
Mhm.
want to do something with that. But I want to wear tank tops and not have to worry about how they look. So yeah, you can't see it, but this whole, oops, let's see, I'm trying to get the camera. This whole
Yeah,
area right here is like skin that,
yeah.
and I'm a teacher with high school students. So I wear long sleeves blouses, and yeah, so that's probably one thing I want to do first is my arms. The funny thing is I'm not so, like, I'm happy that my stomach, the abdomen was not hanging to where I need to get the stomach part done.
Oh,
But
that's
I have a large hernia from my gastric bypass.
huh.
So I have my doctor that I'm going to go see is booked up until March. And I'm hoping like maybe he can do muscle repair too. So
Mm.
maybe he'll do a fleur de lis or something just to help with that hernia because it's been repaired once. So, but my trouble spots for me are the arms, and besides having a flat pancake boot behind, maybe the thighs, the upper thighs. But I think for me, the arms are like the number one. So maybe I'll lose more after that. But I feel like if I can, I think honestly, I'll be happy if I can stay between 150 and 155.
And have you maintained your dose? Like, what dose are
Oh,
you
yeah. Good. I'm
on?
glad you asked.
Yeah.
Okay. So last was a week or two ago, I went to the doctor and I said, I want to titrate down because I kind of did the whole thing where we were talking about let's maybe some people are spreading out their dose. So
Yeah.
since I was still on 10 and I couldn't get in to see her, in September I decided to try extending out to 10-day shots. So injections every 10 days.
Yeah.
And it kind of slowed me down. Like I think I had in September 3 pounds lost. But then at the very, very end, or at about a month after that, I kind of got scared because I went up, but it was my birthday week. And then I dropped a pound a day for the following week. And I went down like 6 pounds in a week. And I was like, oh, so crazy. Like these are
Yeah.
just like such an unknown right now. But I asked to titrate down to 7.5. And on Tuesday, I'm going to start that. And I'll stick to the every 7 days to kind of see
Okay.
how my body does.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Because, like, as we know, maintenance is a mystery.
Yeah. And does your insurance cover your Mounjaro?
And so it's funny. I try not to tell people this, but the first year on Mounjaro, I only had to pay a $25 copay. And then January of this year, there was no copay. As long as I get my medication at Costco Pharmacy, there's, yeah, Costco Pharmacy, yeah. There's a program with our insurance in the school system that if you go there, like you can get your generics for free. Even though Mounjaro is not a generic, for some reason, all of us, like, because I have a couple coworkers now who are also on Mounjaro,
Yeah.
we actually don't pay a copay either. So I'm so sorry, America. Like, yeah,
Wow. And you're in California, right?
in California. And
Wow.
the only time that I had to wait 2 weeks to get my refill was like in July. And besides that, it's always been there. They always get it, or I might have to wait 1 or 2 days. So now my coworkers are on the high, they went up to 15,
Uh-huh.
and they're kind of their story has been different. Like
Mm.
they were probably like 240 and they lost like 45, 50, now maybe 60 pounds. And their weight loss has been very slow, but their doctors titrated them up fast. I think they even skipped a
Oh.
couple doses going up.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, because and I don't know if it was from the shortage or they're on 15, and so they had to wait one time like a whole month to get their 15s. So
Yeah.
maybe I was lucky that I was on 10. Maybe more people were, a different dose. I don't know.
Yeah, I think 7.5 is one of those doses that I think around where I live anyway, I think was a little bit easier to get, so
Okay.
maybe you just kinda lucked out. You
Yeah, just
definitely lucked out with the
I
with the no
know.
copay. My
Well,
goodness. Maybe I should get a teaching job in
I
California.
know. Yeah. I'm like, "Please don't change our formulary, please."
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely keep your eye on that as you sign up for next year's insurance plan,
exactly.
for sure, make sure you can keep going with that. Yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome, and what I was thinking of when you're talking about your birthday, I think maybe eating a little bit more kind of maybe restarted
Yes.
things a little bit.
Oh, Lorraine, I will tell you, every time I've had maybe a tiny bit of a stall, I'll
Mhm.
eat something like something that maybe I shouldn't eat, and
Yeah,
I lose weight.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, "Oh, I'm probably not eating enough," and then it's almost like you're tricking your body, and
yeah,
it gets you out. So if I would say I had more occasional weight stalls in the first part of this adventure than in
uh-huh,
the last so many months, but every time I did, I noticed, okay, I'm not drinking enough water, I'm not walking enough,
yeah,
and I'm not eating enough protein or eating enough calories. And
yeah.
so it's almost, yeah, it's like this, you're tricking your body almost. That's what I keep hearing people say too. And so I'll have a little cheat meal and then I lose the weight. And I always know because it's like several trips to the bathroom that day.
It just
And as
keeps
a
going
teacher,
on
like,
through.
run into the bathroom.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, do you track calories or grams of protein or anything like that on a normal day?
So I kind of just keep an eye meal to meal, and just make sure that the meal is nutritious, that I'm focusing on protein. So now I have protein in my coffee. For the first 9 months, I made a protein smoothie every morning, and then I started intermittent fasting after that because one of my weight stalls was broke by stop. I would stop eating at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then
Mhm.
I wouldn't eat again until 11, but I would have a bullet coffee with I would put some MCT oil in it
Oh,
and half and half. And then at 11 o'clock, then I would eat. So I kind of got out of the habit of doing the protein smoothies, but every meal I would make sure that I had, protein for breakfast, protein and in my coffee, lunch, and then for dinner. So I haven't been counting calories, although I feel like I've been around the 1400 mark because some of my coworkers who are stuck too, they're not, I feel like they're not eating enough. And I actually look forward to, and it's funny to say this, but like true hunger. I feel the hunger in my stomach and
mhm.
I know that I need to eat. And so then I'll eat. And maybe the combination, I can tell that my gastric bypass is still working. Like
Hmm.
I can't eat as much, but also the medication or the peptides, like I feel full faster. And especially
Okay.
if I concentrate on proteins first, like I was supposed to begin with. So I'm trying to think. So, and then protein for dinner. And yeah, so I think I kind of count more of the protein than I do anything else. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like a mental.
When you say that gastric bypass is still working, does that mean it's still restricting the amount of
Yeah.
food that you can and how long ago was the gastric bypass?
So, okay, so the original surgery was 24 years ago. And
Okay.
then in 2010, they did a reset, which meant that they said my pouch was stretched out. So they
Mhm.
went in and made it smaller. It was almost, I only lost like 50 pounds after that reset.
Mhm.
So it was almost like whenever you go in, for most people on a lap band, they tell you only plan on 50 pounds, although there are some people who lost more than that. But that I did a reset in 2010. So whenever you in the past, I know my mom and we would notice that we were eating less and it felt like our stomach shrank. She'd always say, "Oh, your stomach shrank. That's why you're not eating as much." And for her
My mom
too.
would say that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe there's some truth to that. It's a muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like the tool of the gastric bypass is helping to restrict the amount at once, and then the medication's helping with the food noise and the cravings. But it's also helping with inflammation. So my arthritis in my knees, it made it hard to walk up steps, even like one step or two steps. I
Oh,
would do
wow.
the whole like you have to go up with one foot at a time, like
Yeah.
left going up, right going down. And now I'm walking like a normal person going upstairs.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. Like that brings me joy. Crossing my legs, going upstairs, not getting out of breath, going for walks. Yeah.
Non-scale
Oh,
victories.
yeah, nonstop. I was able to do a plank last week.
Wow.
So one of the things I did for accountability, for support group, I joined a program, Pop Recovery Systems, and it's called the Transformation Academy. And it's only like $9.99 a month. And I get a nutritionist, I get mental health, I get mindset changes, cooking, and exercise. And it's within a Zoom type of group because they're in
Uh-huh.
Eastern side. And the person who does the yoga and the strength training is in Costa Rica. So she
Oh,
has like
cool.
this background of a Costa Rica in the background.
Oh,
And a lot
fun.
of times, if you're the only person, you get a one-on-one
Oh,
class. Yeah. So
yeah.
I started doing that. And last week I was able to do a plank. And actually, I was so excited I was able to get on my knees. Like the first time I was able to get on my knees and bend down and get underneath a desk in 20, probably 18 to 20 years. I'm like, wow,
Wow.
'cause it hurt so much. I couldn't even kneel anymore at church. Like I would just sit and kind
Oh,
of look like I was kneeling. I couldn't kneel anymore. And now I
oh,
can. And I feel like besides the weight loss, there's people have been talking about less inflammation from the peptides. Yeah. Or from any of the semaglutides or tirzepatides.
yeah, I have heard that a lot, that people feel like their joints feel better, they're not as they they feel less inflammation. So I don't know how you measure that, but I mean, I think you can definitely feel it. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Definitely.
that's great. Did you have any side effects from the Mounjaro?
I'm very lucky with that. The only side effect was constipation. And
Uh-huh.
I was never a person who ever got constipated.
Oh,
It was
really?
usually the opposite.
Huh.
And I was like fine with that too. But it was 2 months after taking the medication, the Mounjaro. So I was on 5 milligrams.
Mhm.
And it was our first trip to Joshua Tree. And, I thought maybe it's because I was traveling, I couldn't go to the bathroom. Oh, we came home and it was like I was almost ready to go to the ER. And I was like, told my husband, please 911, go
Oh,
get
no.
this, go get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I think so that was like the worst of it. And then after that, I've just been staying up with taking element, making sure I have magnesium, which
Mhm.
I wish I would have done from the get-go because I've always had a problem with leg cramps. If I
Huh.
didn't drink enough water, I think I've always been magnesium deficient.
Oh,
And yeah, and so I'd lay down and get leg cramps. So doing the electrolytes are really helping me with the leg cramps and making sure that I drink enough water.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you had that really bad, like, you came home and 911, like, what helped relieve that? I mean, did you go I
Oh
mean,
gosh.
like
No, I had to like do the whole suppository and
ooh,
we were
that's
having
bad.
to do some excavation.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
that's yeah, so I'm sure you don't wanna go revisit that. So do
no,
you
and
have, like
imagine if some people have to go to the ER to get that done. And I was like, oh, this would have been so embarrassing. Yeah.
yeah,
It was
I have heard those stories of the ER.
in
So,
the inner, like if you're pushing so hard that things start coming out and you're like, oh, this is not good. Yeah, it was definitely an emergency situation.
yeah. So now you do the magnesium, the,
Potassium.
electrolytes,
Yeah,
anything else?
water, I do element.
Water.
I almost do element now every day in my water.
Mhm.
For a while there, I would do a whole packet the day before shot, the day of, and the day after, and then do maybe a quarter of a packet on the other days. Because for one, I don't like water by itself. And so if I have flavor in my
Yeah.
water, then I'll drink it. And so I mix element and I don't do a whole packet every day now. I'll do, except for around shot day, I do a whole packet of Arbonne Fizz because it has like a flavor. It
Oh,
has
yeah.
it has the natural, it has ginger
I've
and
gotten those before.
yes,
I got the whole weight
love it.
loss supplement Arbonne
Oh yeah.
system. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
Well,
I've stuck with the fizz and I've stuck with the digestive enzymes and maybe that's the other thing that helps.
ah,
Um, I was kind of spotty on how often I did it. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been dedicated every morning as I'm making my coffee, I drink the greens. And so for me, it's been the Arbonne digestive enzymes, which is called Skin Elixir or something.
Uh-huh.
But I did buy, everyone's been talking about the other greens out on the market since Prime Day. So I have a container of that. I have like a whole arsenal in case I run out of
Yeah,
greens. Yeah.
yeah.
So I
Are
think that
there
helps. People say
Yeah,
like it helps, it says it takes away bloating, it's going to help digest. So I think that's, you just have to be consistent, and
yeah.
that's be helping a lot.
Are there any other supplements that you take along the way?
Yeah, so I was, especially from gastric bypass, you're already naturally not going to absorb a lot of nutrition.
Yeah.
And so at last July, I started taking vitamin D3, liquid calcium, because I had a DEXA scan, and
Uh-huh.
I found out I had osteopenia, which
Ah,
is early osteoarthritis.
yeah.
And wait, is that what we would call it?
Osteoporosis?
Osteoporosis, yeah.
Yeah.
And so my D3 is, out of all these years of being deficient, it's finally back in the normal range.
Oh, good.
I take B complex. So I have to stay up with those things, B complex, iron, because you're naturally iron deficient with the surgery, and a multivitamin. So calcium, vitamin B, D, and calcium are my dailies.
Do you get blood work yearly, or how does that work?
Every 6 months.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, 6 months.
And is that just from being the gastric bypass? Do you just need it more frequently?
I was okay. So I'll admit, one of the things that I slacked on after the 5 years too is I wasn't taking my vitamins like I was supposed to, and that's probably why my calcium went down so bad, so
Yeah,
poorly. I think I
yeah.
would take a B12 because B12 gives you a good energy, the sublinguals, but because of going on to Mounjaro, my nurse practitioner said, I want to see you every 30 days. So I was in the doctor's office every month. And she's like, because I'm going to get on you if you're not doing what you're doing, what you need to. I miss her.
Perfect.
She ended up leaving the practice, but there's a new one that she seems to be okay too. So I'm giving her a try.
Well,
But
good. So
yeah,
she kept tabs on you, and you
yeah,
had to
she
check
kept
in to
talking.
get the next prescription and that whole thing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I'm sorry that she left because I know how hard it is when you get used to that person, and then you gotta get used to a new person.
Yeah,
So,
and she
yeah.
understood. She was a little bit older than me. She understood menopause. I didn't have,
Mm,
thankfully, I transitioned into menopause very easily right before COVID.
mhm.
I had, they say your periods get worse before they get better. And
Uh-huh,
so mine were, and they were recommending an ablation of the
uh-huh.
uterine ablation. She said
Yeah.
either that or take progesterone. So I did take progesterone for a couple years. And
Mhm.
then I didn't want to go to the doctor during quarantine and stop taking the medication, and nothing ever happened. So I never had hot flashes. So I've been lucky on that part too. So no big side effects with Mounjaro, except for keep staying on the constipation. I
Mm.
never got the nausea. Now, I will say, if I eat something bad, which I rarely do, like, and I'm talking like my husband on the weekends likes to go to McDonald's and get a sausage McMuffin. If
Oh,
I
okay.
eat even half of one, then it
Oh,
makes me go to the bathroom. Like it gives me an upset stomach. So I
yeah,
think it's the grease. So if you eat
yeah.
too
Too
many fried
greasy.
foods and greasy, yeah. And I
Yeah,
really don't eat anything greasy anymore. So if I eat that, that
you
definitely
feel
triggers.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, if I'm constipated, then I guess I know what to eat.
Yeah. Did you get rid of, like, your old clothes? Like, your
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So that was a recent thing. So my closet was overfilled. I started like, how some people are talking about semi-glutides helping with addiction problems,
Mhm.
and well, I went from a food addiction to a shopping addiction.
Oh.
And these online boutiques, they get me, but I had to buy all new clothes. I remember last Easter, like I had enough in my closet to shop my closet for a while. And a lot of my clothes kind of stayed, like they could be baggy and they weren't that bad.
Mhm.
But then there was the point where the bras didn't fit, the underwear didn't fit.
Yeah.
And so I did have to buy like a size that no longer fits now, but there was that transition period. So I had to
Yeah.
buy those. So those are gone now. And just trying to figure out what would work because everything's flat now, like everything. And so now I'm wearing like kind of like a sports bra because otherwise you bend over and you have to worry about spillage.
Yeah.
No problems.
Kinda hangs.
Um, yeah, so now I'm like, I stick with sports bras. I went to Victoria's Secrets for the first time, and
Oh,
I found
fun.
a really good sports bra there, and underwear from Victoria's Secrets. But for me, I feel comfortable with like a brief style or a bikini style.
Mhm.
And it kind of helps tuck in the extra skin because even, like around your hips and stuff, like
Yeah.
you have
Little
like some
pockets.
skin.
Little
Yeah, like a little skin that you can see, you're like, "Oh, tuck that in," or around the armpits, like, tuck that in, yeah, so my bras, I try to make sure it's a wide area so that
Yeah, wide
that
band.
loose skin, yeah, can go
Yeah.
inside. Um,
Holds things in.
yes, yeah, it holds things in without having to wear shapewear, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I've decided I'm not I've wore shapewear for years, all those
yes.
I have a drawer full of Spanx and all those torture devices.
Yes. Yeah, I know, exactly. Like, the
Yeah.
only time I'll wear shapewear again is if I have to for surgery, and then it's
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, probably once you have you'll have to wear the arm ones and the
Yeah, whatever they
whatever
do.
else. Have you
Yeah,
gotten any prices on those yet? Have you gotten any my
yeah,
Weight Watchers leader had her arms done. She lost, I think, over 100 pounds, maybe 150 pounds,
yeah,
and she had her inside of her thighs done too.
okay.
But you have a scar, but I mean,
Mhm.
you don't have the loose skin anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Well, okay, so there's one doctor that I've been following through the group that I joined, and she uses brackets for, like, not only the stitches, but there's these brackets,
uh-huh.
and the scars from her patients are, like, almost gone. So I think
Ooh.
she would be somebody who she's in Texas, Houston, Texas,
Mhm.
and she might be somebody that I'll go fly to probably to get the surgery done, perhaps. It's either there or Beverly Hills. We'll see.
I
Because I
mean,
think
you're in California, I
I
would think
know,
you
right?
would
And it's
have
and
all
it's
the
always
best people right there.
yeah, yeah, and it's always good to go to places that they do a lot of surgeries.
Yeah,
One, the price is cheaper too if you go to, like, Los Angeles has a lower price, I think, yeah.
yeah.
But, yeah, so that's I know, I'm gonna deal with the scar, and I feel like you know what? And I'm okay because 'cause I'd rather have that scar than the hangy because it looks terrible. I'm like like, I do have a touch-up on right now. I got Botox
Oh,
recently,
good for
so
you.
they're like
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
even did this treatment with radio frequency, so you can't get rid of the turkey,
yeah,
this, but
yeah.
it kinda tightened up some of the
And
wrinkles in between.
yeah,
Um,
no, I mean, your face looks great. I mean,
thank you. These with
I
the teeth.
yeah, I don't see yeah. You look
You
great.
you'd probably see more lines without the touch-up, but and makeup. I'm learning how to do makeup again to kinda cover up these things and highlight and all that stuff. But,
Mm.
going back to the closet, I took 3 loads of car loads to Goodwill this 2 weeks ago.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and so and because I thought, "I don't have any place to hang anything anymore."
Yeah.
You're running out of hangers, and that's your sign that, "Okay, it's time to purge, time to purge." And it
Or
felt
buy more hangers.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the purge. Yeah.
Yes, and my husband was gone that weekend, and it was my goal, like, "I'm gonna get it cleaned up before he gets home,"
Oh,
because we couldn't get into it's a walk-in closet,
yeah.
and so as soon as he got home, he's like, "Oh, I could walk in the closet."
Oh.
So that was nice. That was a nice little goal to do. Yeah.
Yeah, Christopher and I share a closet, and his side, he completely gutted, like, very minimal things, and I'm still like, maybe I should keep a few," it's hard. So, I'm
Yeah.
getting there. I'm getting there.
Well,
We've taken bags and bags of stuff out, but, I mean, and some things I wanna hang on to because I just like them, and do I wanna get them
mm,
tailored, or do I wanna just toss it and
I
start
know.
over? Yeah,
I
it's hard.
know. Well, because I feel like I guess there's that scared part of me where I'm afraid to get rid of the sizes that are kinda close to where like anything like a 12 and 16s, I'm like, "Ooh, should I just keep those?"
Yeah.
Um, but I gave away all the, like, 20s, 22s, and 24s, but I kept 1 or 2 of my beginning pants, the ones I wore the most, and I wanna do, like, a video or a picture of putting them on because I I was floored. Whenever I was purging, I held them up and I thought, I was shocked. Like, it was never shocking to me whenever I wore them before, but
Right.
now I can't believe how big they are. Like, I am
Can you
s
can you get both legs into
yes,
one leg?
yes,
You
I
should do
tried
a
it on.
picture like that where you hold it out.
I needed to take a picture. I'm gonna do it again. Yeah, I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it.
There's this lady I follow online called Heather, and she has, like, her thing is half size me, and
Yes,
her
I
do you
follow her
know
too.
this lady?
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
one of her logo is her. I think she now weighs about 150 pounds, standing in one pant leg and then holding the other one out, and I'm always like, "Oh, that's so amazing." It must be such
Yes.
a great feeling just to yeah, but, I
Yeah.
mean, I think it takes your mind some time to catch up with
Yeah.
the size you are. Did you
Mhm.
experience that? I mean, you went
Oh,
down
yeah.
so many sizes.
I every once in a while, I remember whenever I caught a glimpse in the like, an image in the window at
Yeah.
the hospital even. I was one of the times that I was going there, and I stopped and I said, "Are those my legs?" Because, especially because my legs have always been the biggest part, and I looked and I took a picture and I sent it to some of my friends and I go, "Is that how I look?" And they're like, "Yeah, Pam, that's how you look now." And
Yeah.
and every time I see and I look in the mirror, or I don't have that many mirrors. I am now I'm buying some mirrors. I need some full length mirrors, yes. And oh, there
Yeah.
we go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any mirrors, so the only way I was able to get this shot on the right,
Mhm.
I finally bought a tripod, and it came with a remote control, and
Oh.
so I took a picture with that the other day, and I thought, "Oh, I didn't realize I could do that." But
Yeah.
so I'm so excited that, yeah, I'm gonna start bringing in some more mirrors. My daughter, her house that I'm at visiting this weekend, she has full length mirrors, and so sometimes that's whenever I get my pictures too.
Nice.
And I'm just amazed. I'm like, "Oh," I put on some yoga pants yesterday for my walk, and I look forward to walking. That's the other thing is it's a mental mindset,
Yeah.
change. It is you feel the endorphins. And
Mhm.
okay, so she lives on a busy road. We're in Los Osos, and you have to cross a busy road to get across the way. And once I got across, I started jogging, and I've never been able to jog. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
"Am I really jogging and it doesn't hurt?" So I thought, "Let me just keep going." And I was like, I was shocked. I had to record myself. I didn't record myself jogging, but afterwards, the feeling.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
it was
You're not
amazing.
carrying you're
Yes,
150 plus pounds lighter. I
I
mean, you probably
know.
couldn't even pick up 150 pounds now,
Yeah,
and you
no.
were carrying that on your body every day.
Yeah, I
So
was like, no
that's
wonder I was always out of breath, like, always breathing hard.
yeah,
When I would record myself, I would move the phone away from me because you could hear me breathing.
breathing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I
Wow.
always think, wow, it's so amazing to walk, to do activity, to exercise, and to not be out of breath. Yeah, I've been doing some 5Ks, but I've been more walking in the 5Ks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and now I look forward to it. And the funny thing is, so I was a counselor for several, like over 20 years in the college setting, and then I went down into I went from higher ed to high school. And what I think was really another thing that helped me is I started teaching health. And after
Um,
this weight loss, I said last year, I said, "You know what? I'm going to stay in teaching health because it allows me to walk around more, and I get out and I'm now doing what I was teaching. Like, and
uh,
I don't feel embarrassed. I was the only health teacher who was 300 pounds, and I heard one of my teacher's aides. She said, somebody's dad was talking about your weight during the open house, and I was like, ooh, and I had lost 20 pounds at that time, and I thought, oh,
yeah.
but now I look back and I see, oh yeah, I still looked really big, but in my head, I thought I was thinner.
I bet
And
your students have seen you shrinking.
yes, oh, I have to tell you. Okay, now this makes me excited. Okay, so I was teaching a night class of the day, and so some of the kids, if they had trouble catching up on their units, they take night classes.
Mhm.
And one of the boys said, my friend was complaining about his weight, and I told him, "Look at my old health teacher." And I'm thinking maybe he meant I always tell him
A
how old I
different
am.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, they're older previous. He said, "Look at my health teacher. She walks the track every lunch period, and you could do that too." And you know what?
Oh, wow.
Eventually, he said his friends started walking and
Oh,
started
that's
losing
awesome.
weight. And
That's
then he
awesome.
started doing the same thing too. And I thought, a teenage boy, like I inspired a teenage boy.
They're watching. They're
I
watching.
didn't even know that they saw me walking the track because it's like off to the side.
Yeah,
And then my students started getting used to knowing that I wasn't going to be in my classroom during lunch. They knew I would tell them I'm going for a walk, going for a
yeah.
walk. And then they come back and they go, Miss Gomez, is that you? Like they pass me. They're like, is that you? That you lost so much. And they see it more and more. Even last week, the students from last year, even though I had already lost a lot, they see that I've lost even more. And yeah, it's amazing listening to their comments. I love it. Yeah.
Now,
And
do you tell them that you took a weight loss medication? Do they ask
so
you?
I know. Some of them haven't asked me. One person told me, "Oh, there's a rumor that you had surgery." But I
14
know.
years ago or
I think
20 years
a
ago.
few times I told them, I became diabetic and I started taking medication for the diabetes, and I did, but I never really told them what it was.
I
Yeah,
mean, I mean, that's really personal, especially
yeah,
in a school setting. I was just
I,
wondering because I know, kids are curious and I'm sure they've asked you. So I was just wondering
yeah. Well,
what
and then
your
they would see what I would show them what I made for lunch because they're like, "Miss, it smells good in here." And I said, "Look, this is, and I started sharing videos like whenever, especially during our nutrition unit, this is how we can make a healthy meal and it's affordable too because we're in a low socioeconomic school district in that area.
yeah.
And yeah, and so one of my students who was with me a year ago, she said, "My dad has diabetes now. Can you tell me what he can eat?"
Oh,
And she's not my student anymore, but she came to me and said, "What can I do to help him because he's still eating junk food?"
wow.
Yeah,
Wow. I mean, you're a great resource for those students. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And I've
Yeah.
been honest to teachers. I've gotten kind of a mixed opinion from. I've had people come up to me and say, "You're doing it the healthy way, right?" And I'm like, "Well, what does that mean? Like, am I on drugs?" Am I are they insinuating that I'm taking Ozempic? And my daughter said, I think you're just being hypersensitive. They probably want to
No,
make
you're not.
sure.
You're not. But it's okay. I mean, it's
And I
okay.
even get the ones, and because I was the fat friend, and the ones who related to me being the fat friend, I see them passing as we go into the bathroom and they look at me. They do this up and down thing. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was telling one of my other friends, she's like, Pam, you are so beautiful. And it's so true that we put each other down. Like we really need to work on bringing
Yeah.
each other up and we don't. And I
Yeah.
said, it's so true. I see her, especially one or two people who always give me the look. And
Hello.
and I'm just like, hi. And I have all this energy. And I'm like, I probably, seem like somebody on drugs, but it's a natural energy. It's like all
Yeah.
these good feeling hormones and
Well, you're
everything.
not carrying around the extra pound,
Yes.
you do have
You
more
feel
energy
good. You have
for
energy.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a difference.
Yeah. Well, and, I found that a lot of times people become jealous or they feel threatened and,
Yeah.
you have such an outgoing, bubbly personality that hopefully that just overcomes all that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's great. But I mean, for them to, look twice or there's definitely going to be some double takes if they
True.
haven't seen you in a while. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. That's great. I'm sure.
You're right. I have to think about that because they have their own struggles that they're going through. And if they want to ask me questions, I will tell them. Like I'm an open book.
Yeah.
I do.
You can direct them to your channel.
Yes.
Mounjaro with Pam. Watch my YouTube channel.
Watch me trick.
Mounjaro Journey with Pam. Everybody
Right.
go
Oh,
check
there we
out
go.
yeah, everybody please go check out Mounjaro Journey with Pam. This has been great, Pam. I feel like we could just go on for
Oh,
days, but we'll wrap this up now. Anything you wanna, like, mention? Any tips you wanna tell people who are just starting?
so definitely, I think one of the things that we've seen the most is to not compare yourself to others. I feel like I'm a super responder compared
Yeah,
to everyone that I've seen, and it could be a variety of reasons. Being that I was a prior gastric bypass person, I don't know, but don't beat yourself up. If you can lose even a pound a month, and
mhm,
the fact is that you're losing, and give yourself some grace, work on the mindset, and it will come off. Like I'd have ups and downs all the time too. And it's still a daily scale wear, but if it bugs you too much, don't be a daily scale wear. Like,
daily
measure
scale wear.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
For me,
definitely.
I want to be able to catch myself soon enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's those past feelings of failure from regain, but measure yourself. I can't believe I'm a
yeah.
size 29 in the waist. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, that was my high school or junior high size. So measure, because when you're not losing weight, more than likely you're losing inches.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
and if you're having a weight stall, take a look at what you're doing. Are you drinking 80 ounces minimum of water? Are you doing at least some type of activity? Because a lot of people can't walk.
Yeah.
There are, maybe do some there's chair yoga, there's doing some weights with your arms, whatever you can do, just do a little bit. Even if you're walking from one place to another in your house, like just movement, just getting up and moving helps so much. And eventually you'll work your way up. But water, movement of some sort, and protein, and definitely, yeah, your vitamins and all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All great tips. All great tips. All things that we've said here at the Downside. So I
Yeah.
definitely agree with you.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching, everybody, today. If you'd like to come on with me and do an interview just like Pam just did, you can send me an email to Laraine at thedownsized.org, Laraine at thedownsized.org, and we'll send you an email and get you scheduled. And you don't have to have lost 55 pounds, 155 pounds like Pam, even if you're just starting or if you lost a few or just want to talk some things out, send me an email. I'd love to talk to you on the Downsized Dish. Make sure to look at our website. It's thedownsized.org, where we have some products that we like, that we use, what's on there, Christopher? Christopher's news stuff. My weight loss tracker, where you can download a Google Sheet to keep track of your shots and the dates and your weights and all that kind of thing, which I have found helpful. But thank you, Pam. Before we go, if you could please click like and subscribe to The Downsized, we would love that. And thanks again, Pam, for
Thank
coming
you.
on today.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. And yes, I'm a talker, so.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to, when you're at your maintenance, when you get to what you feel like for maintenance, we'll have to have a follow-up maintenance conversation, because I'm always
Sure.
looking for maintenance tips. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Pam. Thanks
you.
everybody for watching out there. And this has been Laraine Durham for The Downsized.